So I know we're not in high school anymore, but many of you can think back to when you were in high school. I know for me, at my high school, I don't know if it's just where I grew up, but like, I could name like 6 girls in high school that were pregnant. Like, during my 4 years of high school that were pregnant at the time, like younger and older. So, right, today I want to talk about the lack of knowledge teens have to like, about like sex and like sexual education and stuff, and how I feel that parents should be more involved, media should stop making it seem like it's okay, and sex education should be more enforced in schools. According to the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, teenage pregnancy is defined as an unintended pregnancy during adolescence, and in the U.S. alone, approximately 750,000 girls between the ages of 15 and 19 get pregnant each year. That's a lot. Like that's a lot just in the U.S. So, almost half don't give birth. They did a study. Linda Lowen did a study that showed in 2014 that showed 60% of girls between the ages of 15 and 19 that get pregnant give birth. So that means almost half don't give birth, whether they have abortions or they have miscarriages, which is really common for young girls to have miscarriages because when I was reading up on it, it was saying like, you know, they're young, their bodies haven't matured all the way, they haven't developed all the way, so it's really hard for them to carry a child. And that's something that's really hard to go through, especially even as an adult. Like, a woman to go through a miscarriage, losing a child, is like something no one would ever really understand, like no guy anyway, no offense, but to be young and go through something like that's really hard. And also making the choice to have an abortion at a young age, being like 16 years old, thinking like, I don't know what else to do. You don't know the knowledge on like giving it up for adoption. You're afraid to talk to your parents about it because it wasn't really brought up at home. Like, it wasn't something that was talked about. Like, you don't know what else to do other than just go and make the decision yourself. So that's really sad. Yeah, so like, it's really hard to talk to your parents about sex. I mean, I know for me, like, I don't talk to my parents about it. I'm, 20 years old, and like, I still like, I'm super awkward and my mom asks me questions about it. I'm like, Mom, get away. Like, it's weird. If it's never been brought up before, it's really hard to talk about, so I believe parents should be more involved. They should actually be the ones to like enforce it in their children, like in their teenagers, you know, because girls and guys are getting younger and younger, and you know, they're having sex and stuff, and that's really bad. An article by R.Y. Langham: many parents have busy lives that prevent them from providing the guidance and support that their young teenagers need to make good decisions on issues such as sex. Not being able to talk to a parent about something so serious like causes you to go to like to your friends or like to different sources for like advice on it, which, I mean, what do your friends know? Like, just because they lost their virginity before you, like, it's not okay. If sex education was enforced more in schools, maybe teens would feel more comfortable going to like a teacher to talk about it. Like, I don't know if any of you had a teacher in school that you were like really comfortable with. Like, I know going to your parents about something like this is like really hard, so like you have to be able to like talk to someone that actually knows what it's about. And there's actually a law that states that it's mandatory for schools to teach sexual education in some way, whether it's like each state, all 50 states have to teach about sexual education, whether they just teach you about HIV and AIDS, or they teach you like how to use condoms, or like, you know, like they show you like what like the effects of having sex at a young age is, like what sexually transmitted diseases you can get and everything like that. So the National Conference of State Legislators stated that as of January 1st, 2015, all states are required to teach about sex in some way. They offer sex ed, but the NCLS NCSL, sorry, goes on to say that 3 out of the 50 states have to have a parent's consent. So if your parent says that you can't, then you can't learn about it in school. Whether they're going to teach you about it or not, your parents, you just can't learn about it. And I know that's a very small number, but California is actually one of the states that you have to have a parent consent to learn about sexual education, which it's like, sorry, it's like, that's dumb. I mean, like, if you're making the decision to have sex yourself, like, why shouldn't you be able to make the decision to actually learn about it, you know? So, not only do teens turn to the wrong people, but to get the proper education, but they also turn to the media, like the shows like Teen Mom and 16 and Pregnant, they're the same thing, but an article that is titled, "Does 16 and Pregnant Prevent or Promote Pregnancy?" It pretty much summed up at the end, it doesn't really matter if it prevents it or if it promotes it. You shouldn't be leaving your sexual education to be taught by some girls on TV, like by MTV. Like, I mean, what are they really teaching you? That they just are all drama. Like, I'm pretty sure one of them went to jail, the other one's like a drug addict, and like none of them are like with their like significant others, and there's just all this drama that they're enforcing in the kids' lives. So it's just glamorizing teen pregnancy and like showing you how dramatic it is. And then teen girls also look for social acceptance. If teen pregnancy was viewed as an acceptable in schools or amongst friends, they may seek to become pregnant for social acceptance. That was also by the R.Y. Langham, which I guess is true because some girls like do follow. Like, I know a few girls in my school that they were best friends and they both ended up pregnant, like, so like not like planned, I guess, but they both ended up pregnant at the same time, and they both have like little kids, like 3-year-old little kids. I don't know, that's just wrong. You shouldn't see having a child as gaining acceptance. It's something really serious, and in developing countries, it's something girls don't get to choose most of the time. International Center for Research of Women states that there are child brides by the ages of 15 and 19 in Africa, and young girls are 2 to 6 times more likely to contract HIV because of the men they marry are older and more experienced, which they don't even get the option. Like, they don't get to choose to learn about it. They don't get to know like that it's wrong. They just get like pretty much like thrown into a marriage and like have to like start a family young, and like that's not fair. Like, pretty much we get the opportunity to learn about it, and everybody should actually want to learn about it. If you want to have sex like young, I mean, I know you guys are older, but if you even have like younger brothers or sisters and they're asking you about sex or want to learn more about it, you should like teach them what they need to know, like, so they aren't like exposed to things that are really bad. Like, you should take care of them and stuff. So in conclusion, parents should be more involved in their teens' lives. You shouldn't really have a parental consent to learn about sex. If you're going to have sex, you should be able to learn about it on your own. And it's not like they're asking you, it's not like you ask your parents to have sex, so why should you have to ask permission to learn about it? And going to teachers and talking about it actually really helps. So I believe that it should be more enforced in schools, and people should talk more about it.
All right, Derek, share your thoughts with us, please.
Overall, her performance, she had good posture, she was giving eye contact and facial expressions that kind of indicated that she cared about what she was talking about. And then her 3 points were like the parents' involvement, sexual education should be like more expanded upon, and then the media is trying to praise teens for getting pregnant. One problem I had is she's talking about how parents should become more involved, yet in states where parents decide whether or not kids learn about education, she thinks that parents shouldn't have any involvement. So it kind of contradicts what she was trying to go for. And then, like the scary facts about how like only half the teens that get pregnant actually have their baby, like there's pretty solid numbers there. And then for media, she went into how like some teens are getting the idea that becoming pregnant may give them acceptance or give them more attention, and then they're doing it just for the personal attention and not for like even regarding the fact that they're having a child, and like that's a huge amount of responsibility. So she did really well elaborating on that. And conclusion, she pretty much just brought it all back together to remind you what she was going for, and that's about it.
Okay. Well, I thought you had a good introduction with the reference to your high school experiences. The subject is relatively clear. It seems like there's an argument that most of this often results from a lack of knowledge, but I didn't really get much sense that there was a demonstration that that's the case. There might be other pressures that are involved in this situation, and maybe those would be a different issue to be talking about, how kids should be relating to each other, the social system that we operate in, that sort of thing. That's a slightly different topic, and that seems like it's connected to your stuff about the TV shows and the idea of social acceptance and that kind of thing. And I think that would make an interesting subject for the speech if it was developed and there was a little bit more information on those points. The stuff that says that there's a lack of knowledge, that's where I think you need a little bit more information. The 750,000 girls that get pregnant every year, there's not much that tells us what it is that resulted in their pregnancy versus I don't know how many other girls are out there having sex and not getting pregnant. What's the difference between them? You seem to be suggesting that it is either a social pressure to be pregnant or a lack of knowledge on the particular subject, and I think I need to see a little bit more information on either of those points. I thought you had a good preview at the beginning, but the organization was not quite as sharp during the presentation as you suggested it was going to be. I thought that it was very nicely presented. You do a good job, even though you aren't feeling very well and your throat's a little scratchy. I thought you spoke to us effectively, and your audience contact is solid, and you seem natural when you're speaking to us. Let's see. And I think that Derek's got a good point here. At one point, there's this discussion about the parents ought to be involved, and then another point says, nope, they shouldn't be involved. Why is it their business? And that seems to be an inconsistency here. I think if you had some information that suggested that when parents' consent is required, that kids miss out on education, that would be helpful. But California is one of those places that requires it. So what percentage of students don't get the sex education that everybody else is getting? What percentage of parents don't sign off on allowing their kids to have that kind of thing? And is there any way of tracking data based on that concerning what you're talking about, which is the unintended pregnancies? I think would be information that would be a lot more useful to your argument. All right, thank you.